You want to step out here a little bit first? So today I only had 400 gallons of sap. So I had a choice to run the 400 gallons of sap through the evaporator or run it through my RO. If I run the 400 gallons through my evaporator only does a little over 40 gallons an hour. It would take me approximately 10 hours or so to run the sap. So I decided to run the RO and boil it off in 2.5 hours. This line here is the water. We call it permeate, and use it to clean out all my tanks. I use it to clean out my RO. This line here is the concentrate. This goes to a tank out back, and then I introduce that to a feed tank that's up above my evaporator. From there, the concentrate goes to a tank out back, and then I send it up to the feed tank of the evaporator as I need it. From the evaporator, it flows down through this white pipe, down through the other side, and goes through a series of pipes inside here. When this is running, it's very hot. I wouldn't be able to put my hand in there. It goes through that series of stainless steel pipes, and that preheats my sap up. So when I drop the sap into the flue pan, it doesn't kill my boil in the flue pan. As the sap goes down through one set of channels, and the fire goes up through the other side of the flues, and it gives the intensity. That's why these pan, if this was just a flat pan, it'd probably boil maybe 10 gallons an hour. By being a flue pan with all those channels and the way the fire goes up through, it boils off at about 40. Then it comes out this side here. This is a float box. The float box just maintains the level in these pans. But when then it comes here, this becomes a syrup pan. Then it flows around these channels and comes out on this other side. And on this side, I have a gauge that measures the boiling point of water. So syrup is usually syrup at 219, 7 degrees above 212. So that's when I draw it off on this side, and I maintain the level of that at 7. Some of the bigger companies will have an auto drawer off, but with firewood, I find I can maintain that 7 pretty realistically. It might be when I draw it off here a little thin, might be a little thick, but at that point in time after I dry it off, I take it to my bottling room and I run it back on propane into a gas finisher, and then I use a hydrometer to make sure that all my levels are about 67.5 Brix. Brix is the amount of sugar that's in your syrup. If it gets up over 68, you have a chance of it crystallizing in the bottles. But if it's below 66, it'll actually could mold in the bottles. So all our sugar and all our syrup basically is about 67.5 Brix. I like to get mine as thick as I can without going over that 68. Got a 600-gallon tank below that pumps up. I pump it up into this tank here, and out behind there I have 500 taps of sugar maples like this. It's just gorgeous out there. It's beautiful out in the woods. Every year I change the color of my taps. This year they're red, next year they might be clear, then they might be blue or green or whatever. So I change my drop lines every 3 years. It keeps the trees healthier, and I seem to get more volume with a healthier tree. If this was flowing really, really fast, you'd know there was a leak up on that line. If you don't know where your leaks are, you shut a valve on the main line. But on these lateral lines, you can tell the sap is just coming down through the line from the trees. This right here is one of our pump stations. And those green lines that flow out through, like I say, they go out around that corner and out through a bog over on the side. This summer it was really dry, so it was good because we could work on those lines out through that bog. But out on the back side of that bog, all those green lines, the main lines all break, and they go up into the hills, and that's where all the sugar maples are. They're really beautiful trees. They're big and they're really healthy. I love them. I have one that's 250 years old. But those feed down into these pumps. Each one of these pumps is carrying about 250 taps. Here is a vacuum pump. It's just a rubber boot, and that white boot has got a little a hole in the center with a washer on it, and it just pulls it up and down. It looks like a cereal bowl, but it's a soft rubber. It just keeps sucking back and forth. They run forever. If they run out of sap, it don't matter. They'll run dry, it doesn't matter. That boot just keeps going up and down. Those black containers over there are filters. That's basically to keep anything ice mostly and any other debris so that it doesn't let it into the pump. The vacuum pumps, you know, people think it's sucking on the trees. It really isn't sucking on the trees. It really just pulling the air out of the tubing lines. and then Mother Nature and force pushes it. You can see the sap going from the pump through these lines. The sap content of those old trees are really high. I started out at 3.4% sugar this year. That was really excellent. The tubing flows up through the brook, pretty much all dominant with big sugar maples with huge crowns. It's beautiful. I love it. That's my favorite grove. I can sit out there all day and just look around. I walk up through between the bog and in the hills, and I can look and I can watch the deer just watching me, and it's fun.